Gosh, I was just listening to this podcast the other day, and I'm going to forget the name of the woman who said it, but she was talking about the pandemic and the idea of the word apocalypse, which we usually think of meaning like horrible disaster, but really like the roots of it mean like uncovering. And I just think that is that's the perfect word for what is happening right now. We're all uncovering our own anxieties. We're uncovering cracks in society, cracks in the healthcare system. I hope that as things progress that we're able to then sort of step back and then look at, oh yeah, what were all those cracks that were exposed? And how do we go about dealing with them? There's so much emphasis right now on, we need to get testing, and, directly manage the coronavirus. And I do think that's all extremely important. Obviously it is. But I do worry that we're forgetting all of these other conversations. For the positive, what's been great is a lot of people in Seattle at least have gotten housing, and it's maybe temporary. But for instance, a lot of people who are staying out in tents are now in hotels. So that's wonderful. And I've sort of been watching those folks stabilize a little bit very rapidly when they've been put into housing. And it's just total demonstration of how housing really is part of people's health care. So that's been the positive. And then I just worry about when is that going to be taken away? On the flip side, of course, there is coronavirus happening in the homeless population, but what we're really seeing is, again, the fallout of all the other services being limited or disappearing for right now. I have one particular client who has really significant schizophrenia and is sometimes able to stay on his buprenorphine with us, but really only when he's well engaged with his case manager. But those services have all been extremely limited, so he's often now spending a lot of time outside where there are more substances available. He's gone off his mental health meds. It's been even more challenging to keep him on his buprenorphine and keep him from potentially overdosing because all those other support services have gone away. Hearing from folks people don't have anywhere to go to the bathroom anymore because a lot of public restrooms are closed, and we're telling them to wash their hands all the time, but washing their hands is really hard. And, for a lot of our folks, their hands are cracked, and, putting hand sanitizer on it is really painful. And so, just handing them hand sanitizer is not necessarily a great solution either. I think just in general, the take home for me is that healthcare needs to continue to be thought of in a much broader sense than just what happens in a clinic or what happens in a hospital. Healthcare is making sure that we have, mental health services, that people have housing, that people have the basic needs met, and also that we're linking all of those services together and not working in silos. And I think it's, easy to just say healthcare is what happens when you go to the doctor. Healthcare is the medicine that you take, or the lab that gets checked, or the x-ray that gets looked at. And to me, those really aren't the most impactful things. It's everything else that goes along with it. How do we really link up and think about all of those other factors and make sure that that is sort of part of what we consider healthcare, and ways that we communicate with those folks, the ways that we direct healthcare dollars to those efforts. I think those are going to be the things that make the most impact in the future.